Hey, it's Joe Glines, and I'm here with Jean Lalonde, and he's a author of this quick access pop-up tool, among another tool. But I wanted to get an overview of it because it did look pretty cool, and I was interested in it. It's written in AutoHotkey, as the language that supports it is written in, and it's just great at any Windows PC. Jean, you want to go ahead and take it
Yeah.
away?
Yes, thank you, Joe, for this opportunity to talk about my pet project, Quick Access Pop-up. It's a tool that is intended to first excuse my English. French is my first language, so I can talk in English, but
Your
sometimes I'm
English
just
is
looking for
fine.
my words. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a tool that is designed to help people be more efficient with their computer. It's not the first tool of this kind, so it's a launcher, it's a shortcut program, but it's based on the mouse and on the use of the middle mouse button that you can use anywhere to pop up a menu and then choose the favorites you want to launch. It can be a folder, it can be an application, a document, or lots of things that I can show you. I first started working on this based on the script that I found on the AutoHotkey forum. So AutoHotkey, as you said, is the language used to develop this tool. And I found it very interesting. And then I started just to improve it and letting know the author that I was continuous work with something that is done frequently in the open source world. So it became a tool called Folders Pop-up because it was first intended to open folders, change folders in the current window, or change folder in the file dialog box. But then with the suggestion I received from users, there's a lot of people who sent me, oh, it should also do that, it should also do that. So I improved it. And at some point, I decided to rewrite the whole application with a new name that became Quick Access Pop-up, because it was more than folder. It's now a tool that is there to help you just access what you want, what you use every day, and to make it easier, and a few utilities also to exploit better your PC. So thank you for this opportunity. As I said, I want to say to people, some people will listen to this video from your website, but I will put it also on my website. So if people see this video from my website, I want to invite them to visit your website, that is
Thanks.
the Automator. So people interested in automating their work on PC, there's a full plenty of resources on your website for them to discover. So I prepared a small I have to reopen it. My Windows is in French, so you may see some French language sometime, but I'll present it in English. Okay. So I prepared a small list of things to do. So first we can talk about how to install it quickly, because most people will do it very easily. Then how you can show the menu. What are the types of fabric that you can insert in this menu? Then how to customize it, and few options that are useful. For example, the application is available in different languages. You can change the hotkeys to your preference. There's a lot of things that can be adapted to your preference. So we can see it also in this presentation. So are you okay with that?
Yeah, I was just going to throw in there, which is one of the things I love about AutoHotkey, is that you said you can customize it to what your preferences are, right? And that is one of those things of why it's so useful. You make it work the way you think it should work, right?
Yeah, and the app is designed with this philosophy, if you wish. Okay, so first, if you want to install the application, you go on to my website, quickaccesspopup.com. Then you have two ways to install. Some people will prefer the easy way. Then all you have to do is to download a file that will be downloaded in a few seconds here. And then there's a standard setup program that I'll show you in a second when it's ready here. There we go. And all you have to do is to click next, and then it will be installed the standard way on your no, okay, I can't do it in this environment because I'm not administrator, so I won't continue this, but you say yes, 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 and then it will be installed in your program files directory, and be easy to uninstall if you don't want to use it after some sometime.
Can I ask you that? Have you had it installed on, let's see, XP, Windows 7, Windows 8, and Windows 10?
Yeah, Folders Pop-up was designed with Windows XP. It still works on Windows 10. But when I started Quick Access Pop-up, I start at Windows 8 and more, because there's a few things that had to be adapted to for Windows XP that was not supported anymore by Microsoft. And there's a very few people still using XP. Yeah. So this tool works with Windows 8 and more.
Cool.
Okay, so the first installation was the standard setup, but for people who prefer to have a portable installation, so something that could be installed on a USB key or to be installed on a PC and be easily removed without impacting anything on the PC. People doing support, for example, will like that. So there's a portable installation. So you download the zip file, you unzip the file, and it's ready to work. So that's the way to install that.
If you've done, because I often will use a portable installation because I have like 5 computers I use, and I do everything under Dropbox. And when I install it under there, it will stay synced on all the computers, you know, because it doesn't use the registry and stuff for the settings. Yeah. That'll work. Cool.
So if you use the standard setup, it will be a specific configuration for each PC you use. But if you install it under a shared folder like Dropbox or a Google Drive or anything like that, the setup, the configuration file, the ini file, can be shared on different PCs, and so you can have the same menu being on each machine. What I prefer to do is to have separate installation, but the application support what is called shared menu. So you can put a sub-menu of the whole thing in Dropbox and have this to be available on any PC that you use. Yep. And you will put there only what is compatible for all your PCs, because you have some applications that are available on one PC or not the other, so you would not install it.
I do exactly the same thing with my toolbars. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the installation. When it's installed, you have an icon here in the tray zone that you can click and show your menu, or you can left click to have a more system menu. That's the first way to open it, but I would say not the most useful. The most useful is to use a mouse shortcut or a keyboard shortcut. So the mouse shortcut is the middle mouse button. So if I click middle mouse button, it will show up the menu where my mouse is. Or you can press Windows W and it will show the menu all the same way. It depends on user preference. Some people are more mouse users, though others are keyboard, so it depends on them. So the first thing I can show you is how the menu is structured. So it's structured the way I made it for this demo. You can structure it the way you want. There's a main menu here, and there are sub-menus that you can also create, and sub-menus can have sub-menus, and you do it with as many levels as you would like. This sub-menu is contain an example of each favorite type, so I'll say a few words about each of them. So the first one is folder. The application was first designed to open folders, so when you click here, it will open Windows Explorer, or it could open also Total Commander or Directory Opus if you prefer those. And some others also, file managers are also supported. So it opened here the C drive, because that was the example of this shortcut here. And if I go somewhere else in my drive, let's go a little deeper here. So I'm now 3-4 level down my C drive. But if I want to return to my favorite folder, which is, if I return here the folder example, I click. So first I clicked the middle mouse button inside the Explorer window. Then I choose it, and it will change the folder inside the Explorer that I have.
So,
Okay?
so especially like I often have multiple Explorer windows open, and that's how
Yeah.
you say you
So
can
where you
which
click is
one.
where
Yeah.
it will be open. Or if you use the mouse, the keyboard, it's the active window. If you have 5
Okay.
windows, it is in the active windows
Right.
window that it will be open. Also, it works in file dialog box. So if I start Notepad,
Oh, cool. Yeah.
which is called a block note in French, and I do open. Here I'm somewhere, maybe probably the last place I was when I opened that.
Yes.
And if I click my favorite folder example, it will change the file dialog box, save as, open to the folder I have in my favorite.
Will that also work with the newer versions of Office? Because they use a different dialog
Yes,
box, right?
yes, yes. I think that the newest is back to the standard dialog box.
Ah!
But at some point, Windows Word, I don't know which version, was effectively so adapted. I would say for the file dialog box that 95% of the application are use the standard dialog box.
Yeah.
Some application will use it and add to it some functionalities that will make it non-standard.
Yeah.
Then the menu won't work in this case, but it's a small minority.
No, I agree. That's probably about the right percentage.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the first type of favorite. Second type is a document. So it can be any document, and it will automatically open the application that is associated to this type of document based on the extension of the file. There are applications. So it will open Word directly. Special folders. Here it will open the network folder, but special folders are documents. There's a lot. I'll show you a list of about 50 special folders typed in Windows. Yeah. So any of them can be added.
Right.
What else? Link. So URL. So this will open my website in Chrome in this case. FTP. This example won't work because I haven't entered the correct password, but I can show you that you can link to an FTP site and specify the username and password of your FTP site so that you'll be connected and authenticated to your FTP site inside Windows Explorer. What else? FTP. Snippet is very funny. I added that a few months ago. So let's go in Notepad. And here I'll just select my snippet demo, and it will type the text I selected in my. And it can also be. I'll just do it again now with the other type of snippet. This was a regular snippet, just a piece of text, and you can also have macro snippets. So you love macros, you know that very well with AutoHotkey. So you can not write a full macro with all the features, but a small macro using some automation that you can inject in the snippet. And for example, here, the snippet macro will start Notepad. It was already started, but it started a new Notepad instance here. Then there's I don't know if you see it, there's a tooltip, a small message, say press space to continue.
Yep.
So here I could type something.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
And until I press, they're missing an H. Yeah. And when I press space, the macro continues.
Yeah, gotcha.
Then it says press shift. I press shift, it continue. It says choose a location. It will open the file save dialog box. So doing Alt F, and all this, and then the macro is ended. So for small automation, instead of launching a full macro using your macro program, you can just insert it in a favorite and launch. And also a favorite could launch a full macro if you wish to launch something that is more powerful with your macro language. Any macro language in that way could be supported if you launch a macro itself.
And on that example, you're showing how it was tied to Notepad for your snippets, but I mean, you don't have to have it tied to Notepad.
No, it could be any text editor. I just needed a place where text could be typed.
Right.
It could be Word.
So that's one. I mean, I do a ton of exactly that, where I have my like SQL commands and things I use frequently, and I go save them, and I have a menu like yours. But mine are probably a lot harder to add than how you add them in this tool. So that's pretty cool. And
when you are a developer and a macro creator, so you can create your own hot strings and you know how to program that. My tool is designed for end users. So power users can also benefit of this, but something with no programming language will be able to use most of it. Of course, when it gets to snippets macros, then a regular user will have to leverage a little bit his knowledge to use that.
Yeah.
Okay, just to finish the favorite types, there's there are submenus that can be linked to an external settings file. So that's what I said earlier, that you could have on different PCs an external menu that is linked to an external file. So this one is a menu that is not in the main file that can be shared. And in the last versions, what I add is 3 types of shared menu. So there are personal shared menu. So just the scenario that we described, when yourself work on different machines and you want to share a menu on your different machines. The other type is collaborative. So different users that share a Dropbox folder can have a shared menu there. And for example, if we do research on a subject, each of us, we are 5, each of us can add links or anything we find in this shared menu, and it gets available to all users as soon as they reload their menu. And the third type is collaborative menu, centralized menu. So it was a request from someone working in a big company who want to make their main HR stuff, or the links that everybody needs, but it has to be under the control of someone in charge. So these are centralized menu that cannot be modified by other users than those that are managers of this menu. Then there are features like add this folder, and there's a lot more, but I'll show you. So let's go to my iTunes folder, and let's say I want to add my music folder to my menu. So I press add this folder, and the app will automatically detect what is the current folder and create the basic of a favorite. And it allows me now to show you how you create and edit a favorite. You can, in this case, we use add this folder, but we'll see that we can add any type of favorite, and we get this add favorite or edit favorite dialog box. So there are basic settings with the name, so that will say, let's say I call it my iTunes music. There's the folder that will be opened. I could hide this favorite if for some time I don't want to show it in my menu. So
but you don't get rid of it.
Yeah, you don't have to erase, to delete it. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So here it is in which menu it will appear. So I will add it to my favorite types demo menu, and I'll put it right in the middle here. Okay, because I can insert it anywhere. So I'll put it just above or before the theme menu. I can select an icon that I would prefer. So it is music. So let's pretend that it is a CD and that we still use CD. And it will be the icon for this menu.
Better than a cassette deck.
Yeah, I could make it a live folder. So if I make it a live folder, then it will be automatically updated with the content of the folder.
Oh, okay.
By default, only for the main folder for level 1, but I could also say go to level 2, level 3, but stop, don't go too much, because Windows menu cannot handle hundreds or cannot handle thousands of items in their menu. They can handle hundreds. So you have to try, I limit the number to 500 items. So if there are more than 500 items, it will stop, and you'll have to restrict yourself. You can have the menu split in different columns. You can include the documents in the folder, not only the subfolders, and you can say which type is. So if you want only the docx menu or XLSX, then it will only index the Word and Excel files in these.
So that's folders. Just space delimited, and there's no.
Yeah, this one is space. The extension space delimited. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll just remove it for now. Windows option is you could define if the window for the folder will open normal, maximize, or minimize. And if it is normal, you can determine at what location on your screen. It can be on your second screen if you know how to make the left coordinate being on your right screen. You know, so that's the way to position the folder. So let's say that in this case, I'll make it top left with 500 and 300. It will be quite small, but we'll see this folder here. And in advanced setting for a folder, we can say that we will launch the folder with an application. So instead of starting with Windows Explorer, it could be started with something else. And parameters, not much useful folders. We have application favorites where we can use parameters and starting folders. So that's kind of, and here there's a lot of options where we can reuse the current folder and all these things. So I'll just stop here. So I'll save it. I say add. So now it is added here in my favorite types demo. I'll just insert here a separator so that we can have something nicer in the menu. We could also add column separator. I'll show it to you, so it's nice also. And I save and close. So it will save my setting. And now, let's say I'm returning here. I open the menu. So now in this sub-menu here, I have two columns because I inserted a column break.
Yeah.
I inserted the separator here, and I have my favorite with the icon. And when I click on this, it opens my iTunes music folder. So that's I think maybe there was a last one to show you here. Add folder group. Yeah, last thing about the types. You can also group different favorites in one menu item. So if I click here, group demo 3, it will open 3 files. Of course, Chrome was maximized, so it took the whole screen, so we don't see the other ones. But it opened here the notepad file. It opened the folder here. So if you work on a project that requires to have 2 different folders in 2 different windows and an application, so you can have all this being open in one click. So project switching can be much faster that way. Okay, so that's the favorite type. So now in the main menu, there are what is installed by default when you install the application is a few examples here, like a Windows folder, a few things I know that everybody have on their computer, and also my QAP for Quick Access Pop-up Essentials. So a few features that I will describe to you, and here the My Special folders where I put 7, 8 most frequently used special folders. But you can add I said any about about 50 different types. So here it's interesting, these features here. So there's a switch feature, so it would allow me to switch to any running application. If I want to switch to my Quick Access Pop-up PowerPoint presentation, I click here, it takes me back there. If I want to switch back to, let's say I have no, I'll open a few files here.
So just to clarify, because now that I know kind of what's running on your computer in the far of, like, I recognize the Zoom windows.
Yeah.
So those are active programs that are in your taskbar probably, or maybe
that's the same thing that you would do if you would do Alt-Tab or show the list of tasks running on your computer. Yeah. I'm just reading it and putting it in a sub-menu. There's the reopen a folder, which is very interesting. For example, when you are in Word and you want to open a file, then you get your file open dialog box that is somewhere where you worked yesterday. But now you know that the file you want to open is in a folder already open in one of your Windows Explorer files. So what I do here, I look at all the.
Oh,
is it flashing? There's my camera is flashing, so I just try to stop it a bit.
It was having a seizure.
Yeah. So okay.
Right.
So So here under the reopen a folder, it will show all the folders that are currently open in one of my browsers. So I can return to any of these folders in the Word file open or in a new file browser in this case. Recent folders is a list of the recent folders that has been opened on my PC as they were remembered by Windows. So there's
the MRU list.
Yeah. So you can reuse it here. And clipboard is interesting. So I'll just to show you, I'll put in my clipboard a list of folders. It could be files, it could be URLs, but I'll just put it here. And now when I open my clipboard menu, it will contain the list of what is my folder, as long as it is something that can be opened. So folder, documents, or URLs, and I then can open it from this. So if you copy something, you can reuse it from your clipboard. And the last one is drives, which present a submenu with all your drives and the space available on each of those. So that's the demo of what you can get from the menu. The way to change it, to make it to your needs, is go to the settings window. You could also hit Shift-Control-S, which is a shortcut for this window. And you have here a list of your main menu. You can go down in submenus to change the submenu. You can also use this drop-down that will list all the menus and submenus in your setup. There's a new feature, brand new, just from the last version. There's a search.
Oh, good.
So if I search APP or if I search AHQ, which is AutoHotkey, there's no AutoHotkey in this demo. So I'll search for folder, FOLD. So it will automatically filter my list with every favorite that contains these characters. I can use these buttons here to move my example and insert separator and columns as we saw earlier.
Oh, I see it on the right. You remove, if you wanted to get rid of one, you highlight it.
Yeah, so buttons are here, add, edit, remove, or copy. So I could copy the, I could move, if I select different items, I could move them, I could remove them all at once. I can add a favorite. So here I have all the type of favorites. We've seen all of them, I think. Yeah, submenu, groups, shared menu are a way to group different favorite items. So let's say I add an application, then I have the dialog box as we said earlier. The difference with this one, which is an application favorite, is that you have a drop-down list of all the running applications on your system. So instead of having to type the full path of the application or to browse to the exe file that is somewhere you never went there before, it's already here in the list. So if I want to have a shortcut to Notepad here, I have Notepad, which is written here. I'll just make it with capital N to make it nicer. I have the same menu option that we've seen earlier. The icon is taken automatically when it is detected in the file or in the documents. And advanced setting for applications, there's a few more options. It can be launched with administration privileges. So some application will require to be admin in order to do what they have to do. So you can launch it with this. It can require a password depending on your current setup. Start in is what will be the working directory when you launch this application. And parameters are anything that you would add if you were to launch this application from a command line. Okay, so it's a little more for power user, and there's a lot of things to play with for power users here, where you can retrieve the name of the file or the extension, or so to make something that will adapt to various situations without having to change the favorite. So it's how you add. Of course, to edit, you can double click or click edit. Same thing, you get to the current setup and you can change it. Remove is obvious. Copy will create a copy of the favorite you are in, and you can do something that would be similar. And finally, you have, and I mentioned that you can have hotkeys associated to any example. So here I have shortcut. I can change the shortcut for this menu. This menu is launching a website. So I could say that Shift Control W, and I could say it is only left shift or right shift or any shift key. Same thing for Control Alt or Win. But in this case, Shift Win W, if it's not already used, it's not. So I'm saving it. Save and reload.
Shift.
So Control Shift W is launching my browser. Okay.
Cool.
So these are the shortcuts, and if you want to review what shortcuts you have in your menu, you can have this window where you have all the shortcuts already used. You could see all favorites and say, okay, for this favorite that has no favorite, I will open it and no shortcut. I can add a shortcut here. And there's also the same kind of window for icons. So where you see all the icons for all your menu. That's not the most cute window, but it works. So you have all the folder, the menus and submenus, and what is the current icon and what would be the default icon if you were to select, because there's always a default icon that the system is giving you.
This is one of the things that really surprises me that people don't do. It takes a little more time to do it, but I mean, I have probably about 1,000 icons I've downloaded and saved on my computer just because I can create something that, you know, I can look at it and at a glance know that's what it is, right? It represents the thing I'm trying to do, and it's so much faster.
Visually, I try to make it easier to using this app. For example, if it is a Word, an Excel document, it will automatically here open the Excel icons file where you have all the icons that Excel can use. So you can choose the one you prefer for your favorite. But
on that, I was going to say though, on that example, which is great, but let's say, because I know you talked about it earlier, let's say you had a specific Excel file that was with data mining or, you know, whatever. Then I put a picture of that topic, right? And it makes it so easy to just
and on my website I explain how you can create your own icons, because icons has to be of a specific format. And you can take any image you have, create it as an icon, then use it in your menu if you want something very personalized. And that's it. There's the small help file here, but you have much more on the website. Small about with to thank people that made translation of my application.
So wait, I'm curious, how many languages do you have there?
Yeah, I'll show it to you from the options window. That's the last thing maybe we haven't seen, the options window. So options are anything you can configure that are not specific to your menu or to items in your menu, but to the whole application. So the languages are Portuguese from Brazil and from Portuguese, two different versions of Portuguese. Of course, English, French, German, Italian, two versions of Chinese, simplified and traditional, Spanish and Swedish. And Dutch is on its way. So I have something new that someone just getting in that is doing currently the Dutch translation.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's not as many languages as so anybody would like to have it in his own language. He has to be ready to put a few tens of hours, because it's a lot of work to translate all this content, but it can be done with pleasure. So here you have I won't go through all this because so you can define if you want it to run a startup, you should do it normally. You want it always available. You can change what mouse button will launch your menu. So by default, it is the middle mouse button, but you could say it would be the right mouse button with shift. So if you so because some people will say, oh, my middle mouse button is already used for something. But also what you can do is go in the exclusion here and say, for example, that in Site, you know, this text editor that you use to edit your AutoHotkey scripts, you can use the middle mouse button to show a list of kind of go-to box. and I'm used to middle mouse in this application to have my go-to box in my application. So I exclude this application from my quick access pop-up menu. So in this case, I can hit middle mouse. It will go to the application. It will not be taken, intercept by my menu.
So I'm curious here because I understand how AutoHotkey works with some of the stuff. What do you actually list here? You're listing the word site, but
yeah, part of the window name. Okay. Or it could be also the class name, if you know what our class is, which is a kind of tag for types of windows. So both can be used. There's a FAQ page, a frequently asked question page on this topic for all the
because people who don't do this, that I could see being frustrating or confusing when you first
but you know, most of the time you type Chrome, it will exclude Chrome, and of course it would exclude another application that will be Chrome something, or but usually it works. And finally, you have different file managers that are supported. So if you are a directory Opus user, you have to identify where is your setup file for this. Same thing for Total Commander. And there's a list of other file editors here that are I would say 80% supported. So some features that I have in my app will not work with these. Or for example, to detect what are the current folders open in different applications. I cannot do it with all these applications because it's a lot of work for each of them. But it will be supported to change folder to navigate in these different file managers here. So that's mostly what I wanted to show you. I think we talked about download, showing the menu, favorite types, customizing the menu, and the options. So it's a kind of, I don't know if we could say quick tour, but it's a tour of the application.
I'm so glad because, so for others watching this, we were chatting the other day, and he's like, "Hey, have you seen this tool?" And I said, "No, I'll go look at it." And I thought, you know what? Since I know you, why don't I have you give me a quick intro? I didn't realize how complex the tool was. So this was really helpful.
It's a few years of work.
Yeah, man,
it's not full time, but much time.
Yeah.
If you want to go to the website, I can just show you. You have here frequently asked questions where you have help content about installing, showing the menu, customizing, launching, mastering the application. There's a support page where you can report bugs or ask questions or anything like this. It's working, okay. That's where I do announcement about new releases and things like that. And there's a wish list section. This page is very long. There's a wish list where you can submit a wish. So that's the way the application evolved, and it is still evolving with good ideas from users. So you can see what is actually in progress. That's so things I'm working on. So I'm working, for example, a stay on top option that would, there you can do drag and drop in the, if you have a file here, so I can drag and drop the file here, and it will automatically create a favorite for this folder. But it's more useful if you want to drag and drop many files. It's good to have this window to stay on top, you know. So there will be a little checkbox here to do that. So you know also what I'm working on, and you can do your own comment suggestion on that. And finally, there's a support freeware page. So where if you want to help me work on that, you can give me a little help.
You know, I don't know if you remember this.
Using your PayPal account.
This was like, what was it, like 4 years ago, maybe a little longer? That was, I sent you some money. It was like $20 or something, right? But that was a long time ago. And then suddenly
it was for another of my projects.
But it is, you know, I mean, and I'm on the same side. Like, it's nice. Hey, it can be $5, right? No, we don't care, right? It's just a little bit here and there helps. Awesome.
It's of course it helps paying for the expenses. I have to pay for my certificate because when you install the application, it doesn't come from anybody you don't know. It comes from me, and it is authenticated by the certification system. I have to pay a few $1,000 for that. But all these a few $100, excuse me.
Yeah.
So you have to. So it helps, and it's also a good une tape dans le dos in French. So when someone say good job, so it's fun
right.
to know that people like it, and so
it's great seeing. I saw a lot of people posting saying how amazing the tool is. Right, I saw them making comments, which I know also it's great to get that feedback. But getting a little money too, that's another way to make me feel better.
Yeah.
The one thing I would comment to people when they start doing this, and I'm curious if you agree, is because I know when I try and teach people to use AutoHotkey is they say, wow, those that actually try to adopt it will start using it, but they try to add too many things at one time, or especially the hotkeys. And then they added like a dozen, and you add too many at one time, and then you can't remember what's what. And I like to tell people, add a couple, use it for a little bit, add a couple more, and it helps you remember and not overwhelm yourself.
Yeah. And you can also, with the time, improve your menu when you create submenus for specific groups of favorites, and yeah.
Which is another. Now your tool is very user friendly for it, but I do some of what you did, but I do it with the actual building menus and AutoHotkey, and I'm sure that's not a fun exercise overall. So what I used to do is I would spend more time making sure I think through the organization before I do it. In your tool, because you can move them around, it's not nearly as critical, because you can just say, you know what, this makes more sense, and restructure it. But it definitely, getting it clearly thought out in the long run helps you stay organized.
It can help you get more organized, but if you're not organized at all, it can just make it more a mess, if you it's something for people quite organized, or helping them to get more organized if it's one of their goals to be more organized.
And I think I know the answer to this, but just to clarify, so some of those things you have it where you're creating a hotkey to do something. You don't have to be in your actual tool for that to work, right? Like, let's say I had it launch a certain file in Excel.
I'm here, and I hit control shift control. What was it that we did earlier?
W, control shift W.
Yes, and it was launching. It opened a new window of the same window where we are, but here is I hit shift control S to open the settings menu. I could be anywhere for that. Yes.
Yeah, and most programs, when you use them, you might have, generally speaking, you have pre-built hotkeys that you can hit, and it'll apply to that program. But that's what's great about this is it works outside of your program, right? It's one of those things we're not used to that. It's a foreign concept, but very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So hope this helped you understand what the application is doing and give you a good quick start for the application.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Joe.
Bye.